For 300 years, humans had been neutral. It was a point of pride. While other species fought and died, humans traded with everyone, helped everyone, and fought no one. Their ships carried supplies to both sides. Their doctors treated wounded from every conflict. Their mediators sat at every peace table. The Galactic Council respected this. When wars broke out, they asked humans to stay neutral. And humans always agreed. Ambassador Sarah Mitchell had repeated the same words so many times they felt like a prayer. We want peace. We will not fight. She said them again when the Kryll Imperium and Vorthan Dominion began their latest war. Both sides sent representatives to Earth, asking for assurances. We will stay neutral, Sarah told them. We will help your refugees. We will treat your wounded. But we will not fight. The Kryll ambassador nodded gratefully. Thank you. Your neutrality is respected. The Vorthan ambassador agreed. We will keep our battles away from your space. Everyone shook hands. Everyone went home. Then the war began. It was a terrible war. The Kryll and Vorthans had hated each other for centuries. This time, the hatred boiled over into something worse. Fleets clashed across dozens of systems. Planets burned. Millions died. Both sides asked for human aid. Humans sent medical supplies, food, and doctors. Human ships carried refugees away from danger. Human stations treated wounded from both sides. But humans did not fight. Sarah watched the reports every day. The death tolls. The destruction. The endless suffering. Why do they keep fighting? She asked her assistant one evening. The assistant shook his head. I do not know, Ambassador. They have been fighting so long, I think they forgot why. Sarah nodded sadly. We must never become like that. Years passed. The war continued. Then everything changed. A Kryll fleet, battered and broken, fled from a Vorthan attack. They jumped into the nearest system without checking where they were going. It was a human system. A small colony called New Hope. 20,000 people lived there. Farmers, traders, families. The Kryll ships arrived in panic, broadcasting distress signals. We are under attack. We need help. The Vorthan fleet followed moments later. Their commanders saw the Kryll ships and opened fire without looking at where they were. Plasma bolts crossed the void. Some hit Kryll ships. Some missed. Some hit the colony. Explosions bloomed on the surface. Buildings collapsed. Fires spread. People ran screaming through the streets. The Vorthan commander realized his mistake and ordered ceasefire. Too late. When the firing stopped, the colony was in ruins. Thousands were dead. Thousands more wounded. Sarah received the news in her office. She read the report 3 times. Each time, the words felt worse. New Hope, she whispered. 20,000 people. Gone. Her assistant stood nearby, face pale. The Kryll and Vorthans are both apologizing. They say it was an accident. They offer reparations. Sarah looked up. Reparations. For thousands of lives. Yes, Ambassador. She was quiet for a long moment. Then she stood. Call the council. Request an emergency session. Tell them we need to talk. The assistant nodded and hurried out. Sarah walked to the window and looked at the stars. Somewhere out there, New Hope was burning. Somewhere out there, her people were dying. For centuries, humans had stayed neutral. Had helped everyone. Had asked for nothing. Now this. She thought about the faces of the dead. The children who would never grow up. The families torn apart. Neutrality, she murmured. What has it given us? She had no answer. But she knew one thing. Things would be different now. The council chamber was packed. Representatives from every major species filled the room. Kryll, Vorthan, Xylos, dozens of others. They stood in groups, whispering, arguing, pointing fingers. Sarah Mitchell walked to the center and waited. The room slowly fell silent. She looked around at the faces. At the species she had helped for centuries. At the beings who had taken human aid, human medicine, human food, and given nothing in return. I am here, she began quietly, because 12,000 of my people are dead. Silence. A Kryll fleet fled into our space. A Vorthan fleet followed. They fought above our colony, and 12,000 humans died. She paused. Children, parents, grandparents, gone. A Kryll counselor spoke. It was an accident. A terrible mistake. We offer our deepest apologies. A Vorthan counselor nodded. We offer reparations. Credits. Resources. Whatever you need. Sarah looked at them. Apologies, she repeated. Reparations. She shook her head slowly. 4 centuries, we stayed neutral. We helped your wounded. We fed your hungry. We took in your refugees. We asked for nothing. She looked around the room. Now our people are dead. And you argue about who is to blame. A Xylos counselor spoke gently. Ambassador, no one denies your loss. But accidents happen in war. Surely you understand. Sarah's eyes found him. Do you have children, counselor? He blinked. Yes. If they died in an accident, would you accept apologies? He had no answer. The KRYLL counselor tried again. What would you have us do? We cannot bring the dead back. Sarah's voice turned cold. No, you cannot. But you could have taken responsibility. You could have admitted fault. You could have shown that our lives mattered to you. She looked at the Vorthan counselor. Instead, you blamed each other. You argued about who fired first. You offered credits for lives. She turned to leave. We gave you a chance to make this right. You did not. The KRYLL counselor stood. Ambassador, wait. What are you saying? Sarah paused at the door. I am saying that human neutrality is over. She walked out. The journey back to Earth was quiet. Sarah sat alone in her quarters, staring at the stars. Her assistant brought food. She did not eat. Brought reports. She did not read. What happens now? The assistant asked quietly. Sarah looked at her. Now we decide who we are. Earth's leaders met in emergency session. The room was filled with generals, politicians, and scientists. Screens showed the devastation at New Hope. The faces of the dead. The ruins of homes. Sarah stood before them. I have addressed the council, she said. They offered apologies. Reparations. Blame. But no responsibility. No justice. A general spoke. What did you expect? They have been fighting for centuries. They do not know how to take responsibility. Then we must teach them. Another leader frowned. Teach them how? With words. Sarah shook her head. With something they understand. Silence. The Secretary General leaned forward. You are suggesting we end our neutrality. Go to war. Sarah met his eyes. I am suggesting we show them who we really are. Not conquerors. Not aggressors. But not victims either. We have spent centuries helping others. Now we help ourselves. A scientist spoke. But our military, everyone knows it is small. Outdated. Sarah smiled slightly. Everyone knows that. Because we wanted them to know it. She pulled out a data pad and placed it on the table. Here is what they do not know. The room leaned forward. 4 centuries, we built in secret. Not for conquest. For defense. Ships. Weapons. Technology. Hidden in places no one knows. Waiting for a day we hoped would never come. She looked around the room. That day is here. The Secretary General was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke. Are we ready? Sarah nodded. We have been ready for generations. We were just waiting for the right reason. She thought of New Hope. Of the dead. Of the children who would never grow up. Now we have it. The vote was called. It was unanimous. Human neutrality was over. The galaxy did not take the threat seriously. News of humanity's withdrawal from neutrality spread quickly. Council chambers buzzed with discussion. Military leaders reviewed their intelligence. Political commentators offered opinions. No one was worried. Humans, a KRYLL general laughed. They have no military. A few small ships for defense. Nothing more. A Vorthan admiral agreed. They are traders and doctors. Not warriors. Their anger will pass. A Xylos strategist nodded. They will make demands. We will negotiate. Everything will return to normal. No one prepared for war. No one mobilized fleets. No one took humans seriously. They were wrong. Deep in uncharted space, far from trade routes and scanning networks, doors began to open. Asteroids split apart, revealing shipyards inside. Hidden bases powered up their reactors. Massive doors slid open on moon after moon, releasing vessels that had waited centuries for this moment. Fleet after fleet emerged. They were unlike anything the galaxy had seen. Not because they were larger, some were not. Not because they were more heavily armed, though many were. Because they were designed for something different. Not conquest. Defense. But defense, the humans had learned, required many things. Speed. Power. Precision. Overwhelming force when necessary. Gentle presence when possible. The ships reflected all of it. On Earth, Sarah Mitchell stood in a massive command center. Screens covered every wall, showing fleet movements across the galaxy. General Marcus Stone stood beside her. His face was calm, but his eyes were bright. "All fleets report ready," he said. Sarah nodded. "How many ships total?" 12,423. Spread across 4 to 7 systems. Ready to move on your command. Sarah looked at the screens. At the ships she had known about but never seen. At the power humanity had hidden for so long. And the weapons. Stone smiled slightly. "Untested. But our simulations say they will work." "Simulations are not battle." "No. But they are the best we have." Sarah was quiet for a moment. Then she spoke. "Send a message to the council. Tell them we are coming. Tell them to watch." The message arrived at the council chamber within hours. It was simple. Direct. "Humanity has ended its neutrality. We are coming to discuss the future. We suggest you prepare." The councillors read it with confusion. "Prepare for what?" a KRYLL asked. No one knew. Then the reports started coming in. Sensors across the galaxy detected movement. Hundreds of ships. Then thousands. Moving from everywhere toward the center of known space. "Where are they coming from?" a Vorthan admiral demanded. His sensor officer shook his head. "I do not know, sir. They are appearing from everywhere. Regions we thought were empty. Asteroids we never scanned. Moons we assumed were dead." "How many?" The officer checked again. His face went pale. 12,000, sir. At least. Maybe more." The admiral stared at the screen. At the dots representing human ships. At the impossible numbers. "That is not possible," he whispered. "Humans do not have 12,000 ships." The officer had no answer. Across the galaxy, the same scene played out. KRYLL generals watched their screens in disbelief. Vorthan admirals called for reinforcements that did not exist. Xylos strategists ran simulations that all ended the same way. The human fleet was too large. Too fast. Too coordinated. A Vorthan general stood before his command screen, watching the dots approach. "Where did they get all this?" he demanded. No one answered. He turned to his staff. "Someone tell me, where did humans hide 12,000 ships for centuries?" A young officer spoke quietly. "Everywhere, sir. They hid them everywhere. We just never looked." The general stared at him. "We never looked," he repeated slowly. "We never thought to look." He turned back to the screen. "What else have we missed?" On the human flagship, Sarah Mitchell received updates constantly. "The KRYLL are mobilizing," an officer reported. "Too late. They cannot reach the meeting point in time. The Vorthans are trying to form a defensive line. Our ships will be through it before they finish. The Xylos are sending diplomats. They want to talk." Sarah nodded. "Tell them we will talk. After we arrive." She looked at the main screen. At the galaxy spread before her. At the fleets moving in perfect coordination. "For centuries, we helped them," she said quietly. "We fed them. Healed them. Saved them." General Stone nodded. "And they took us for granted. Now they see." Stone looked at her. "What if they fight?" Sarah was quiet for a moment. "Then they learn what 5 hours of human warfare looks like." The fleet moved on. And the galaxy watched in shock, finally understanding what they had ignored for so long. The human fleet crossed the border at dawn. 12,000 ships moved as one, a wave of metal and light spreading across the galaxy. They did not slow. Did not pause. Did not send messages. They simply came. The KRYLL Imperium prepared for war. Generals gave orders. Fleets mobilized. Defenses activated. They expected a long campaign. Years of fighting. Humans were peaceful, after all. They would not know how to fight. They were wrong. **R1***. The human attack began everywhere at once. Not a slow advance. Not careful positioning. Lightning strikes at every key point. KRYLL command centers lost communication with their fleets. Supply depots exploded. Shipyards went dark. KRYLL admirals stared at blank screens, unable to reach their own ships. "What is happening?" one demanded. No one knew. His flagship shook. Alarms blared. Human ships surrounded them, weapons aimed. "Surrender," a calm voice broadcast. "You cannot win." The admiral looked at his screens. Half his fleet was already disabled. The rest were surrounded. He had no choice. Cease fire. Surrender. The first hour ended. The KRYLL fleet was in chaos. Hour 2 The Vorthans watched the KRYLL collapse with horror. They tried to prepare, to form defensive lines, to coordinate a response. It did not matter. Human ships appeared at their borders simultaneously. Not one fleet. A dozen, each striking at a different point. Vorthan commanders could not keep up. Orders crossed. Units scattered. Confusion spread. A Vorthan admiral tried to rally his ships. Form on me. We will fight together. His communications went dead. Human jammers blocked every signal. He watched helplessly as his fleet dissolved around him. Ships surrendering. Ships fleeing. Ships destroyed. By the end of the second hour, the Vorthans were in full retreat. Hour 3 Both empires begged for ceasefire. Messages flooded human communication channels. Pleas from KRYLL generals. Desperate calls from Vorthan admirals. Offers of surrender. Requests for talks. Anything to stop the advance. The human fleet did not stop. They continued moving forward, surrounding world after world. Not destroying. Not conquering. Simply occupying. Taking control of every strategic point. A KRYLL counselor broadcast to the entire galaxy. Please. We surrender. We accept any terms. Just stop. The human ships kept moving. By the end of the third hour, both homeworlds were within range. Hour 4 Human ships surrounded the KRYLL homeworld. Thousands of vessels filled the sky, blocking out the sun. Every city, every military base, every government building was covered by their weapons. A similar scene played out at the Vorthan homeworld. Neither empire could move. Neither could fight. Neither could do anything except wait. On the KRYLL homeworld, panic spread. People filled the streets, staring at the sky. Leaders hid in bunkers. Soldiers dropped their weapons. On the Vorthan homeworld, the same thing happened. Messages arrived from both governments. We surrender. Please. Tell us what you want. The human fleet waited. Hour 5 Admiral Stone stood on the bridge of the flagship, watching the final reports. Both homeworlds secured, an officer announced. All major military installations are under our control. Resistance has ceased. Stone nodded. Casualties? Minimal on our side. There's light. They surrendered faster than we expected. Stone smiled slightly. Good. That was the goal. Sarah Mitchell entered the bridge. She looked at the screens, at the conquered worlds, at the impossible victory. 5 hours, she said quietly. Stone nodded. 5 hours. I did not think it would be this fast. Neither did they. Sarah looked at the image of the KRYLL homeworld, surrounded by human ships. What now? Stone shrugged. Now we talk. Now we set terms. Now we show them that we did not want this, but we were ready for it. Sarah nodded slowly. Open a channel to both homeworlds, she said. Broadcast to everyone. It is time to talk. The message went out. KRYLL and Vorthans alike heard it. Humans in orbit, humans on the ground, humans everywhere listened. This is Ambassador Sarah Mitchell of Earth, she began. The fighting is over. We do not want your worlds. We do not want your resources. We want one thing. She paused. Respect. Real respect. Not polite words while you ignore our needs. Not apologies while you blame each other. Respect. She looked into the camera. 4 centuries, we helped you. We fed your hungry. Healed your wounded. Saved your people. You took us for granted. You thought our kindness meant weakness. Her voice hardened. Now you know the truth. We are not weak. We are patient. We are peaceful by choice, not by necessity. And when forced to act, we act decisively. She softened slightly. We will withdraw. We will return to peace. But things will be different now. You will see us as equals. Partners. Not servants. Not furniture. The channel closed. On both homeworlds, silence. Then, slowly, people began to understand. 5 hours. 2 empires. 1 species. And a lesson that would never be forgotten. The council chamber was silent. Sarah Mitchell walked through the doors and stood in the center of the room. Around her, representatives from a dozen species sat frozen, staring at her. No one moved. No one spoke. She looked at them. At the KRYLL who had begged for ceasefire. At the Vorthans who had surrendered. At the Xylos who had watched in shock as their predictions failed. You begged us to stay neutral, she said quietly. Her voice carried in the silence. We did. 4 centuries. We helped your wounded. We fed your hungry. We took in your refugees. We asked for nothing. She paused. Then you killed our people. 12,000 humans died on New Hope. And you blamed each other. You argued about who fired first. You offered apologies and reparations. But no responsibility. No justice. A KRYLL counselor started to speak. Sarah held up a hand. He stopped. We did not want this, she continued. We never wanted this. We wanted peace. We wanted to help. That is who we are. She looked around the room. But we prepared for this. Because that is also who we are. We prepare. We wait. And if forced, we act. A Vorthan counselor found his voice. How? How did you hide so much for so long? Sarah almost smiled. Because you never looked. You saw what we showed you, traders, doctors, helpers. You never thought to look deeper. You never asked what else we might be. The room absorbed this. A Xylos counselor spoke. What now? Will you conquer us? Take our worlds? Sarah shook her head. No. We do not want your worlds. We do not want your resources. We do not want slaves or subjects or servants. She looked at each face in turn. We want one thing. Respect. Real respect. Not polite words while you ignore our needs. Not apologies while you take us for granted. Respect. A KRYLL counselor nodded slowly. We understand now. Do you? Sarah's voice was gentle but firm. Because understanding today is easy. Remembering tomorrow is harder. Next month. Next year. Next century. That is the test. She turned toward the door. Remember this day. Remember what 5 hours of human warfare looks like. Remember that we had you surrounded, your homeworlds in our sights, your fleets destroyed or surrendered. She paused at the door. And remember that we chose to stop. We chose peace. Not because we could not win. Because winning was never the point. She walked out. The galaxy never forgot. In the years that followed, humans returned to their old ways. They helped. They healed. They traded. They mediated. But things were different now. When humans spoke at council meetings, others listened. When humans asked for resources, others provided. When humans said they were stretched thin, others believed. Respect. Real respect. A KRYLL historian wrote, We learned that kindness is not weakness. Patience is not fear. And the species that chooses peace when it could have conquest is the strongest of all. A Vorthan philosopher added, They showed us their power for 5 hours. Then they showed us their true nature by laying it down. That is the lesson we must never forget. Years later, Sarah Mitchell stood on a balcony overlooking the galactic city. A young diplomat approached her. Ambassador, may I ask you something? Sarah nodded. Why did we stop? We could have taken everything. We could have ruled the galaxy. Sarah looked at her. And then what? The young diplomat blinked. What do you mean? Then we would be conquerors. Rulers. The thing we never wanted to become. We would spend centuries putting down rebellions, fighting wars, holding on to power. She shook her head. That is not who we are. She looked out at the city. We stopped because we could. Because we proved what we needed to prove. And because peace is better. Always. The young diplomat nodded slowly. I think I understand. Sarah smiled. Good. Now go help someone. That is what we do. The young diplomat left. Sarah stood alone, watching the stars. Somewhere out there, human ships patrolled. Ready. Watching. Waiting. But hoping they would never have to fight again.